Get started. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to start with the land acknowledgement statement. Before we begin, we acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional and unceded territory of the Lummi, Nooksack, Samish, and Semiahmoo people who have cared for and tended this land since time immemorial. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth. We pay respect to their elders, past and present. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us together here today. And please join us in uncovering such truths at any and all public events. I want to welcome everybody to the Incarceration Prevention and Reduction Task Force Information Needs and Data Exchange or Index Committee for March 4th, 2021. We have a couple of items on our agenda. The very first one will be an update from the Administrative Office of the Courts, describing some of the progress in the case management for the courts of limited jurisdiction integrating across the state. And I believe Kat Robinson will be taking that on. Am I right in that?
You sure are. Thank you, Caleb. Can you all see my screen? Okay, perfect. So thank you so much for the introduction, Caleb. Like you mentioned, I'm Kat Robinson, and I'm here to give you a quick overview of the Courts of Limited Jurisdiction project being run by AOC. So like I said, I'm Kat Robinson. I'm the AOC project manager assigned to this effort. So anything Courts of Limited Jurisdiction project falls under my jurisdiction, and I get to manage it to fruition. I've been with AOC almost 2 years now, but I came from an executive branch agency, so I'm pretty well versed in state government. As we go through this presentation, I do encourage questions. However, I am short on who's here for my team, so I may be writing them down and getting back to you on answers. Unfortunately, the rest of my team is kind of parsed out throughout the other meetings right now. And then if you're not comfortable asking questions on the screen, it's no big deal. There's an email address at the end of this. I'm sure Jill could share the presentation with you following, and then you can feel free to reach out to us at any time, and we will get back to you. So with that said, I want to make sure that I introduce some key members of my team to you. You will probably be meeting with them at some point throughout the duration of this project, and I wanted to make sure you hear the name, you at least like, oh, that's a CLJ person. So we have Dexter Mahir on here. He's the Court Business Office Manager. He's my counterpart, and he really manages the project stuff from the business side of the house. I manage more the IT and the overall project, and he manages the day-to-day business. We have Jennifer Wagner. She is actually in training right now to be a certified change management coordinator, but she's a change management coordinator. She's responsible for helping courts and AOC manage the change that comes with a project of this duration. And she's also responsible for a lot of the communications that come out from the project side of the house. We have Vicky Cullinane. I think you all know who Vicky is, and I saw her on the screen earlier. But Vicky is—
Yep, I'm here.
Hey, Vicky. She's been with AOC for many years also, and she's our liaison. So she liaises with the Courts of Limited Jurisdiction courts and their counterparts out there in the field and brings back information she hears and then shares it the other way also. And then last but by no means least, one of the key members of my team is Angie Autry, and she's the court business owner. So anything CLJ, she owns it. That she's the primary point of contact. She's who we go to. She's our guru. She also supervises all of the business analysts assigned to the project. So in her free time, that's what she does. Do we have any questions? Okay. So I shared with you key project staff, that's on the AOC side of the house, but it really is important to share with you our governing groups, because it's not just an AOC project. This is really being run by people at different levels of the court community. So we have a few levels of leadership that we partner with, and these are representing the CLJ courts and all the respective organizations, the MCMA, the MCJA, et cetera, et cetera. At the lowest level, we have the court called the Court User Work Group. We sometimes call it the COOG. It's an affectionate name. They're comprised of subject matter experts for their area of expertise, and they're responsible for approving requirements, sharing their vision, just making sure the new system is going to work for the court community for many years to come. Then from them, we have the Project Steering Committee. This is the executive level group, and they're responsible for mitigating concerns, approving project scope and the budget, and then being our champions of change in the community. So they're the ones that go out and really help us champion this. And then finally, we have the GISC, and they're overall responsible for all major IT projects at AOC and helping provide guidance to our team and the AOC as a whole. As you can see on the slide, we have members from basically all of the organizations, and they all just share their expertise and help us deliver a combined effort for the courts. We also have Blue Crane. They're one of our partners, and they're here to provide independent oversight and verification on specific deliverables. So they'll look at schedules, they'll look at release notes, et cetera, make sure we're doing it properly and we're doing it systematically and we're doing it within IT best practices. Quality assurance is completely independent of the project. Alan, he's our point of contact. He doesn't work for me. He works directly for our executive sponsors, which is Don Marie Rubio and Justice Madsen. And he's really there to share any observations and things he learns and have an open communication. And he's a good partner to sort of bounce ideas off of. Do I have any questions there? Okay. So as you can see by this slide, there's three major components of this project. We call it the CLJ CMS, but there's three parts to it. So we're doing the Odyssey Case Management System, which some of you are probably familiar with from the Superior Court side of the house. And it's our document storage system and manages the cases. It's truly the engine that's going to power the solution, and it's the main driver of the project. We also have an add-on called Tyler Supervision, and that's here to help our probation departments manage their cases, pull case information from the case management system down, and really just be able to manage the probation cases. A lot of our users currently use this in their departments, and we'll be bringing them over as we go live with their groups. And then lastly, we have Odyssey File and Serve, sometimes called E-Filing and sometimes called OFS, so the same thing. But this is how cases will be started initially and put into the system. So OFS allows an attorney or a citizen to start a case absolutely anywhere if they have internet connection. So I like to effectively say I can sit on my couch Friday night, 10 o'clock at night in my bunny slippers, and I can start a case in the system. E-Filing is also the first component that we're going to implement for the statewide level. Any questions there? You're making this really easy. I like that. I'm not sure how much you guys know about the project, so I just want to give a quick overview and share where we came from, and some of the history of the project. So as you can see from this timeline, this project's been going on a really long time. In 2011, the DMCMA requested a case management system for the CLJ courts. They went to the GISC, requested approval, and it was prioritized to begin right after the Superior Courts did their implementation. Once the priority was obtained, the business team, which is run by Angie, went and started gathering requirements to make sure we could do this properly, and we were making sure the experience was taken into consideration. It took a few years, but these requirements were finalized in 2016, and we put out an RFP, request for proposal, to the vendor community to see who we could get to support this project. It took many months of review, but finally the Project Steering Committee determined that Tyler Technology Suite of products, which is the three I mentioned, would meet the needs of the CLJ community, and we signed the contract in September 2020. This allowed us to officially start work on replacing GISC. And fun fact, GISC was created in 1987 and I was 10 years old, so it's been around for a little while. I like to remind my daughter of that when she's looking at me like I'm crazy. But it's built in an old programming language, and you just can't find the developers to support it anymore in the community. They're all retiring out, or they cost way too much money. But over the last 10 years, many dedicated judges, court administrators, and staff have spent hours working on this project and getting us to where we are, so we feel that we can be successful moving forward. So like I said, we are doing e-file first. We're doing it first for a few reasons. but mainly because it's a necessary requirement of the system in order for the court's limited jurisdiction to function more effectively and efficiently. And there's a lot of benefits to e-filing. Once implemented, it's going to give access to documents statewide for judges and other court staff. So you can file a claim in Whatcom County and you can view it in Whitman County, which is court. I say claim, sorry, I came from Illinois. A case in Whatcom, which you see in Whitman, which is kind of nice. We don't have that right now. It's going to reduce the amount of paper handling and storage space required in the courthouses. And then under COVID requirements, there's so many remote services that are critical to court businesses and access to justice that just allowing someone to file remotely from anywhere is helpful. And then it's an investment in our future. As we start electronically filing documents, there's going to be less that have to be scanned later by the courts to put them into the Odyssey system. So we're trying to kind of get ahead of that case. Once documents are scanned through Odyssey File and Serve or E-File, they'll be accessible in Odyssey when we go live with that system later. We know it's important, but why are we doing it first? Well, when we were getting the requirements, our project steering committee determined the e-file was critical to a case management system and that many other states are using it effectively right now, and they find it a lot easier to share documents. So the steering committee wanted to give a quick win to the CLJ courts because much as we would love to, it's going to take about 5 years to deploy case management systems statewide, but we can do e-filing a lot faster. So we'll be giving them e-filing within this next calendar year. So in 2021, everybody will have e-filing, and it's not going to delay the case management system or probation system deployment. And then, like I said, once it's implemented, attorneys and people can just file from wherever they would like to file, and they can do it in the bunny slippers on their couch. There's also going to be some efficiencies for the court staff and court users from e-filing. Staff won't need to chase down lost documents. You don't have to worry about whose desk was it put on. You don't need to respond to faxes and emails from attorneys saying, did you get my documentation? Because they can see it in the system. So that should reduce emails and calls. And technically, we should be able to reduce paper and toner costs because we won't need to print documents. Do I have any questions? Awesome. So like I mentioned, we're going to do e-filing in this 2021. I believe everybody on this call is in the Whatcom, Skagit, Snohomish, Island, San Juan region. So you guys are going to be in region 2. If you're not in one of those counties, that's okay because your county's up on this slide. But whenever you hear us mention a region, your area is always going to be region 2. So how do we come up with these regions? Well, we divided the state by looking at the order based on user count, geography, location, travel considerations. We didn't really want to be dealing with somebody in Asodan and Clallam at the same time because that's just really geographical segregated. And then we took some feedback from the courts and our project steering committee in Cook. So we're going to start with the east side of the mountains, then we're going to go up to you all in region 2, we're going to do the central, and then we're going to go 4, 5, and 6. We're going to use the same rollout plan for the case management system and Tyler supervision at this time also. So what does that mean for dates? Well, basically we're going to do the pilot courts first in June 2021. So the pilot courts are 4 courts in Pierce County. So it's Pierce District, Tacoma Municipal, Gig Harbor, and then Faircrest Ruston. We're going to let them stabilize for a little while, make sure everything's going okay. And then we're going to start with phase 1 in August. And then you all in phase 2 will be August 23rd, 2021 is your expected go live date for e-filing. You'll see there's 2 dates on the screen. There's one for a go live date for e-filing when it'll be in the system, it'll be ready to go, but we're not going to mandate people use it. And then there's one right afterwards when it'll be mandatory for attorneys in the region to use e-filing. You'll also notice that the time difference between the go live for pilot and mandatory is larger, it's 90 days. We did that to make sure it's working correctly before we make it mandatory for attorneys. And then when we got to later courts, we could shorten it because we're not making any changes in the system. Then it just becomes a communication effort. Do I have any questions? Because this is where I usually get them. Nope. Awesome. So the next thing is obviously e-filing is our biggest priority right now, but we do have a case management system and a Tyler supervision to work on also. So we're starting to rapidly work with Tyler, who's our vendor, to ensure that this process is also going smoothly. As I said before, there was a lot of requirements finalized in 2016, about 1,500 to be exact, so a lot. And Angie and her team did a really great job preparing these requirements, but we are implementing a commercial off-the-shelf product, which is like you go to the store, you buy Microsoft and you just plug it in. That's not going to meet all of our needs exactly, so we're going to have to do some customization. So in December and January, just recently, we met with Tyler and we looked at the areas where we felt we would need to do customization. And we started saying, well, what does that look like? How much customization? We want to do as little as possible because it's a risk when you do it. So right now we're finalizing exactly what customization we need to do, and then we'll move on to actually doing the work. We're also making sure that Odyssey is installed on our servers at AOC so we can do that customization. So Superior Courts is on 2014 right now, and then moving to 2018 shortly. We're going to be installing Odyssey 2019. It's a slightly newer version than they have, but it works very, very much the same. It should be pretty easy for people who transition across court groups to make the transition. And then we're also really working on hiring our project team. We have about 12 people right now, and we need to hire about 20 more in the next year so we can really be successful. And like I said earlier, we're using the exact same rollout plan. So it's going to go east side and then back to the west again. And you all will still be in region 2, but that means your dates will be pushed available. So what we're expecting for go live dates for your region right now is first quarter 2024. It might be third quarter 2023. We're still working on finalizing these dates. But when I say go live, that means Odyssey and Tyler supervision is working 100% in your region, and you're able to use it and you don't have to use GIS anymore. Do I have any questions here? Okay, so this is my question and answer page where if we have any questions, feel free to ask them.
Perry.
So Perry Rice, the IT manager at Whatcom County. Worked closely with Dave Reynolds, our Superior Court administrator, in implementing the Superior Court case management system.
Good.
For e-filing, and we have document management as part of our Tyler implementation. Where when we do e-filing in district court, where is it going to be stored? Are we going to, is that something we would store in that same repository with Superior Court, or would it be a different repository?
I'm not, are you using e-filing using Tyler right now up in?
We're not currently e-filing. We're slated to start when the
Okay.
moves to it.
So they are going to be two completely separate installs. Superior Courts is going to have one install. We're going to have their own. Now, like you may have picked up on, there's going to be a couple-year gap between e-filing starting and you getting the case management system, which becomes your document management system. So what we have negotiated with Tyler is those documents are going to be located in the Amazon Web Services cloud environment, but we're going to keep a copy on our server too, just for a backup, and it's quicker to get to. And then there's going to be a link in GIS and JABS, where you can click on that and get to the documents and either pull them down or use them right there in the system if that's what you need. Now, once we install Odyssey, all those documents will be stored in the document management system for Odyssey on AOC servers. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll also be reaching out, my tech team will be reaching out to you shortly with some questions to make sure that you guys are prepared for Odyssey moving forward, et cetera, and you have what you need. Since you worked on the Superior Court, you're probably pretty familiar with what we're going to ask, which is helpful.
Yeah, we worked closely with Dexter, and I think that worked pretty good how AOC not only reached out to the courts, but also information technology professionals that were supporting the courts during the implementation. So
the good thing is Dexter's still around for this project too, so we're mirroring a lot of it and just improving processes because they've already figured it out. There's no point changing it.
thank you.
You're welcome. Do I have any other questions? Okay, well then next steps. We have a really extensive, it's about a 12-page frequently asked questions document on our project website. It's primarily focused on electronic filing, but there's a lot of other questions in there. And I would encourage anyone who wants to read it to please feel free to go read that. We also have information sessions that we started in late February 2021 that's really geared for the Bar Association and the attorneys, but to get information out about e-filing so it's not a surprise to our users. And then we're already working with our pilot courts for the e-filing, and we'll be starting to engage with Region 1 and 2 in mid to late April. But like I said, if you have any questions about it, there's an email address at the bottom of this screen. It's monitored by several of my staff. They check it pretty frequently, and we do try and get back to questions really fast. So I would encourage them. We also have a listserv that if you're not on, please feel free to join it. We try to push out information about every week. Sometimes there's a week gap in the middle because staffing, but we do try and push out information once a week. And then of course you can always send stuff to Vicky and she'll send it to us and we can work from there. I'm seeing a thumbs up from Vicky over there as I volunteered her for work.
Yep, nope, I was gonna say it anyway.
With that, then I have to thank you all very much for your time. It was a good pleasure to meet you all.
Thank you, Kat.
You're welcome.
And
Here, thanks for giving us some time. We appreciate it very much.
absolutely, we appreciate all your guys' help. As with last time, Vicky and Kat, as we move through the agenda, you're absolutely more than welcome to stay on the call, but I understand if you want to sneak away as well. So
Nope, I'm working 10-hour days these days with all the communicating we're doing, so I'm gonna drop off. It's great to see you all. Thank you very much.
thank you. All right, very good. Next up on the agenda is a response from the last meeting that we had to have an overview of the upcoming case management systems and other related programs that are being installed in 2021. And so I'm going to invite Perry Rice from IT to help us go over some of those items.
Sounds good. And I think Jill's going to put a one-pager up that we'll go through.
I am. Hi, Perry. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sorry, what one pager are you looking for?
Oh, the PDF.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can do it, but
That's okay. Hang on a second. I will.
well, the good news is that the Cat actually covered a number of these things for us. So
Is this what you're looking for, Perry?
yes. Okay, so Perry Rice, the IT manager here at the county, and the pandemic had a cost, and one of the costs of the pandemic was really we had a lot of case management initiatives that have been delayed by at least a year, and so we have a pretty ambitious year that we've set up for 2021. Starting with Superior Court. You know, they do have the Tyler Odyssey case management system in place. And I think you heard that Kat was saying that we're moving from a version 2014 to a higher level version 2018. And that's actually going to occur in April. This is the first major upgrade to that system since that time. So we're looking forward to that. Superior Court also, Dave's been awful busy working, and the Tyler Odyssey e-filing component is actually being piloted right now in Snohomish County, and our Superior Court is expected to be an early adopter, maybe as early as second quarter 2021. I don't know if Dave, you have anything more you want to add on either of those two?
No, it just is dependent on the upgrade to Odyssey Navigator, which is supposed to take place next month. So hopefully e-filing will come sometime after that, though Navigator's been pushed out a couple months, as you know, from when we were supposed to have it. So it's a bit of a moving target as when we're going to be able to move forward with that.
I think we first were going to try to do it in October, November-ish.
Yeah.
Then December, and then it got moved to April.
Right. And I know that Snohomish County's had good success with their pilot there. So I think that a lot of the kinks and stuff have been worked out. So when they're ready to roll it out, I think that can happen fairly quickly. It's just a matter of when that's going to happen.
And then the third project that's juvenile court is a division of Superior Court. We have our current juvenile court case management system end of life. It's way end of life. And Dave was able to get AOC to approve the use of the Tyler Odyssey supervision module for that. In order for it to work for us, it does need some customization, and they need to have us on the new Odyssey in order to kind of start that project up again. So after April, we'll be looking forward to working on replacing the current juvenile court right track case management system with a component, the supervision component of Tyler Odyssey. Any more on that, Dave, while we have you here?
Yeah, just that, as Kat mentioned earlier about, the Tyler supervision module is really an off-the-shelf product. And because we do more than just probation, supervision, and juvenile, we really needed to work with all the things we do related to dependency and civil proceedings as well. So took some customization on our end to be able to do that. But I think actually going to benefit juvenile department statewide, being able to, those who have Odyssey as their clerk's office case management system, being able to download the information in real time from the clerk's office and not have to do double entry on data. So I think it'll actually work fairly well once we're able to move forward with that.
So big changes coming to Superior Court, Juvenile Court. District Court case management system. That was the topic that we just heard from AOC. I don't really have much more to say on that. Bruce, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't at this point. The state, these Kat and Vicky, as well as some other folks from AOC, have been started presenting a series of webinars, both to court staff and to attorneys. Another set that's geared towards attorneys in private practice, in how the system will work and how it will be used. And so they're putting a lot of information out there, but I can't pretend to know exactly how it's going to work for us given our current practices, but we're working on it.
Yeah. Thanks, Bruce. And then we have our public defender's office. And I see Maya here representing the public defender. So we have an antiquated, probably 26 or 27-year-old custom text-based system right now. It really just lightly indexes their cases. They really are predominantly paper-based. And we've actually made some pretty good progress within the last few weeks. We started contracting with a firm called Justice Works, who does a lot of for their defender data system. And they're kind of a nationwide group that focuses on what works well for public defenders. Skagit County Public Defender has an earlier version of this. So we're hoping to get a contract wrapped up in a few weeks and then get into their queue for deployment. And we're hopeful for a third quarter 2021 deployment. Maya, would you like to add anything more to our project?
Just thanks to Perry working so hard to get it going. We're excited.
Yep, we have a good work group in the public defender's office on that, and we're looking forward to landing this plane this year. Likewise, the prosecutor's office, same situation, an antiquated 25-year-old custom text-based system, predominantly file-based, paper file-based. And we're actually working on an RFP to be issued. And then we're also going to try to get a selection and an implementation before the end of the year. I don't know if we have a prosecutor representation with us. I don't see that, but looking forward to that as well. Let's see, I think, Jill, if you're able to scroll down a little bit. And then we have something that, boy, I think when I started 17 years ago, Chief Jones and Lieutenant Raymond were putting requests in for a electronic medical record system. And just thrilled that they were able to get the funding for that. And they have a contract in place. And county IT and corrections are working with the vendor. I'd say project kickoff on the 12th. It's actually tomorrow. So, you know, that's pretty neat to see a lot of these projects that we've needed to do for many, many years coming together this year. From an index committee perspective, you know, I think we've been asked for a lot of information. And if you have paper-based systems, it's just almost impossible to quickly pull that information together. And I think just getting a number of these modern systems in place are going to really help us to provide the information that the main group above us is eagerly awaiting. And I think each of these implementations, there's always a phase where you kind of go through what reports you need. And I think, you know, I'll do what I can in my participation in these implementations to try to make sure that a lot of the questions, again, that the group above us have been asking are part of these implementations. And then, of course, integration. There's different ways of integrating between the systems, and even just doing a simple presentation like this, where we make all the agencies within our criminal justice system aware of what's going on and who the point people and stuff like that are, will help in the long run. Caleb, or Chief Jones, I didn't provide you with an opportunity to make some comments on electronic medical records.
Harry, I would mirror what Maya said. Without the help of the resources you made available to us in order to get this thing bid out and evaluated and then moved forward, I don't think we could have done it. So I very much appreciate that. I know the nurses can hardly wait because it's going to make us so much more efficient. And in the context of the index committee, we'll be able to find more information in at least an aggregated level to be able to provide to this committee and then the task force as far as our population and some of the challenges. Get them solid numbers for the percentage of folks who are mentally ill with substance abuse disorder, etc. So it's going to be terrific, and I appreciate your contribution to that and actually Caleb's patience with us as we worked our way through some of the different aspects of it. So thank you.
Yeah, and I would echo your thanks. John East, I know, was very helpful during the RFP process, and we'll have Rick and John East and myself and others supporting Caleb and yourself for that implementation. That is all that I had. If there are any questions, be happy to answer them at this point.
Excellent. Thank you, Perry, for that update. We're going to move on to item number 4 in our agenda, which is a discussion about systems that can be used to view aggregate data through the criminal justice system. The reason for this bullet point is kind of back in the beginning days of Index, we have been talking, and since then we've been talking about the idea of gathering information across many levels and many systems throughout the criminal justice system to better influence the decisions that we make and to understand what impacts those decisions might have on, you know, reducing recidivism or helping to deal with the many issues that exist in the criminal justice system today. And we had talked, I believe, in the last meeting about the potential of going out for some assistance from a consultant that could point us in the right direction in terms of what systems might be available. And since then, I've also done some research online on a couple of potential options, and they may fall short of what we're actually looking for, but it sort of primed the pump of creative ideas, I believe. And one of those systems that I discovered was a company called Recidiviz. It's a not-for-profit company out of San Francisco, California, that has been working with a number of states and local jurisdictions across the United States to try and find information and data points across the aggregated criminal justice systems to help influence releases for folks who are affected by the pandemic. So they were able to reduce jail populations and prison populations across the United States in a pretty drastic way. And then also to understand what impacts those releases might have by gathering the data. So I wanted to put that out there to folks here in the committee to decide whether that's something that we wanted to look into further. So it's more of an introductory item, but I wanted to see if there was any feedback or a different direction to travel we should be going. Perry?
So I think we talked last time about where a central a repository, where the data would end up. So this is kind of a follow-up to that discussion.
Yes, sir.
At some point, we will need something centralized to store the information.
And perhaps a system that could pull different data points from their own individual repositories. It wouldn't have to be centralized. Potentially, I don't know that the makeup of this particular system is that functionality, but there's at least potential that we wouldn't have to store all of the data in order to mine it for the data points that we're looking for. All right, well, we're going to move on then on our agenda to item number 5, which is an update on the email distribution system. So I believe last index meeting, we talked about a request from the task force to get a system so that information requests can be centralized through the task force. And so Perry from IT and I have come up with a distribution list for that system. Perry, do you want to jump in on that one?
We came up with an indexy type of a name. So what's the acronym for the task force?
Yeah, IPRTF.
IPRTF _index at co.wacom.wa.us. But I think Caleb, the intent of that is for when members of the task force have a request, not necessarily a outside of the task force type of thing.
That's correct.
So you'll make that available to communicate to the task force.
That's correct. Awesome. Any other business?
Caleb, this is Jill here. Did you want to talk to the committee about the annual report
Yep.
that was discussed?
Yes, I do. Chief, did you have something?
I was just going to let folks know, several of the people that are on this meeting, I just sent out our year-end jail bed day use and bookings report. A lot of you got them. Kathy, I sent one to Darlene. If you can get a copy from her, or else I can get it. I didn't know if we wanted to enter it into the record as part of whatever. It is a statistical analysis. It shows a dramatic drop of about 48% in jail populations from 2019 through 2020. You can imagine why shutting down, a significant chunk of the jail and of course COVID. But I didn't know, Jill, if you wanted a copy or to attach it to this meeting so that it would be available, or if anybody else other than maybe me and the municipalities care about this. But if you do, Jill, I'll send one to Jill. Otherwise, I'll just go away and y'all can finish up.
Please send one to Jill.
Jill, I'm sorry I missed you.
Yeah, Wendy, if you could send one to me, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. And if any of the rest of you wind up with questions, please feel free to get a hold of me.
Okay, and then the one thing that Jill just mentioned is true. We have a report for our committee due at end of June. And so I will be working to draft something for our presentation for the, I believe it's an April meeting that we'll look at it next, but I want to draft a report so we can get a draft together, and then our final presentation for that will be May, making sure that we've got all of our revisions made before the June task force meeting.
Caleb, I have one question about that. Looking at the calendar, the index committee doesn't meet again until May. Did you want to schedule a meeting next month?
I don't know the mechanics of this, Jill. Is a report like this something that can be done in between meetings with review, say via email or something like that?
Yes, as long as the committee has the opportunity to officially vote on whatever final draft goes forward, we can definitely do that. Have the members submit comments and information in development of the committee report. I will say that past reports have had focus on an introduction, goals, progress, issues and opportunities, and next steps. And excuse me, the most recent big annual report that we did in 2019, the committees were asked to create 3 headlines as a way to streamline the report. So 3 headlines of maybe some of the bigger projects that the committee is working on. So if anyone wants to focus their comments that way, we can certainly do that.
Excellent. So that's the path of travel I'd like to go with, Jill. If we can all work something out in a draft format and then circulate that for the committee to take a look at, and then we can make comments and then vote on it in May. Anybody else have any other business? I don't see anybody with other business. How about, do we have any members of the public?
There aren't any attendees at the meeting today.
All right. Then I believe we can adjourn. Thank you.